Hi everybody, I'm Scott Munson. I'm the superintendent here in Marshall, and glad to have the opportunity today to record a segment of Tiger Talk TV. Each month we try to bring some of our staff and even our students in to talk about different topics, and there's always a lot to talk about that's happening in the Marshall Public Schools and a lot of really great things. And we're fortunate this month to have our early childhood coordinator Tiffany Teske with us, and Tiffany and I are going to talk a little bit about early childhood and what that means and why it's important, and a variety of different topics related to early childhood. But before we get too far down the road, Tiffany, maybe you could just tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, talk about your background, and share how long you've been in our district.
Great. Thank you, Scott, for having me today. I love early childhood. I graduated from SMSU in 2001, and I've been in early childhood ever since. So I have experience of being in different districts, doing a little bit of parent ed and ECFE work, and then I have been with the Lakeview School prior to coming to Marshall, working full-time as the early childhood coordinator, along with the school readiness teacher and the ECFE teacher. And I started here in the Marshall School District November of 2014, and I absolutely love it. So a little bit about what I cover is all the early childhood programs here at Marshall.
So that's a great segue into you and I. We can throw terms out like early childhood and ECFE and ECSE and all of that, and we know what that means, but not everybody does. So when someone says early childhood, Tiffany, on a broad sense, what does that mean? What does it mean to the general person who we're trying to help learn more about that?
Right. A little bit more about early childhood is that we service all young children ages birth to 5 and their families. So that's an important piece, is that K-12 doesn't directly impact families, but we are really focusing on that family component. With early childhood, it really embraces a lot of avenues. So we cover early childhood screening, early childhood family education, Little Cubs preschool or school readiness, early childhood screening, and then early childhood special ed as well.
So we're really talking about birth through kindergarten or up to kindergarten, and it's not only the student or the aspect of the student's education before they get to kindergarten, but we also incorporate the family aspect of things. So early childhood is all-encompassing. Is that a safe assumption? And you talked about, and I mentioned early childhood family education. So what's an early childhood family education class? What does that mean?
Good question. I get that one often.
Okay.
What early childhood family education stands for, or what it looks like, is families register through Marshall Community Services, and the class typically lasts 5 to 6 weeks. We have classes on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Wednesday mornings, and Friday mornings. And they come together with an adult and a young child, so it could be a parent or an aunt and uncle or a grandparent. And the classroom is all set up for them to enjoy, and we kind of take the mess or the cleaning out of the messy activities, so families can really just come and enjoy the learning activities that are set up. Our classes are birth to 5, so they are tailored to meet young children's needs, and we just offer a lot of guidance for parents too, like some questions that they can ask as they're at the activities. And then after about 45 minutes of that time, then they come together at the carpet, and we call it circle time. That's led by an early childhood teacher. The early childhood teacher sings songs, reads stories, teaches finger plays, incorporates counting and rhyming and all sorts of fun. And then as that time exits, then the parents stay at the carpet for a parent education discussion led by a parent educator. And then the children have their social time with the child educator, and they play and they form friendships.
So it's the education, sort of an education aspect for the child, and at the same time bringing in a family member who's learning along with the child, and then incorporating some skill-based instruction, for lack of a better term, with the family. So when we hear ECFE, it's really all-encompassing: child, parent, family member. Right. Learning takes place, and that's a focus, but yet it's not really the same as a first grade or a third grade classroom or anything like that. I would guess, a lot of focus on social skills and ability to get along with, especially when we get into the early childhood part without the parents or family members, but really helping those kids get acclimated. In Marshall, what do we have? What are our offerings that we have birth through basically 5-year-olds?
Right. What are offerings for ECFE you can find in the Marshall Community Services Guide. And we also have information on the Marshall Public Schools page, link under Early Childhood Department. We offer classes in the nighttime and daytime to meet families' needs, along with one-time events. So those are special events that happen even throughout the community, so that if a family member maybe isn't quite comfortable their first time coming to ECFE, coming into the school, then we'll meet out in the community and hopefully bridge them to get comfortable and meet and learn what ECFE is all about, so that they can start coming here to school.
Okay.
So that's what ECFE has to offer.
Okay.
Other programs that we offer are Little Cubs Preschool, which is 3 to 5-year-olds. And we have classrooms at Parkside and here at the middle school. And then we offer our family literacy classes too with ECFE, and that's a collaboration. And those classes are for our families that are English learners. And then we have early childhood screening, along with early childhood special ed too.
Okay, so really if a family has a young child who's 5 or younger, birth to 5, there are a variety of different things that are available to them.
Yes.
You talk a lot about community services, and I know that isn't necessarily a question on our list that we're going to go through, but what's the partnership or collaboration between the school district and community services? How does that work, Tiffany?
Good question, Scott. How that works is that our funding, though limited, we do get some state funding, and it is through Marshall or through Community Services. So that is why we have our registration through Marshall Community Services, and the Community Education Director is also in charge of our programming as well.
So that's a good partnership where we have work with the folks from Marshall Community Services, the City of Marshall, and really help students get ready for school, whether they go to school in Marshall Public Schools or maybe one of the private or parochial schools as well, just to help them really kind of springboard into the successful formal education that we get into when we get into kindergarten. And you talked a little bit about it, but I just want to make sure that all of our families know. So if they have children, they want to register for an early childhood class or Little Cubs Preschool or whatever, early childhood family education, how can they do that?
Okay. So the Marshall Community Services brochure is mailed out to every household here in Marshall. And if you'll notice on the back side, it has the address where you can stop in and register for classes, or the phone number is 537-6767. That is for all of our ECFE classes. If that is confusing, you can always call the school district, and we're here to help too, and we'll get you registered through the school district as well. Our Little Cubs Preschool, you can either register online, again, through the Marshall Public School website. Check the early childhood link, and right up at the top, we have our online registration forms available to you. Otherwise, you can stop in the office, and we're located here in the back of the Marshall Middle School, door number 15, and we have a paper copy available for you to fill out.
So trying to find ways to make it easy for parents and families to register for classes. Tiffany, you touched on a little bit earlier, you mentioned early childhood screening.
Yes.
What does that mean? What does that consist of?
Well, the state of Minnesota says that every child ages 3 to 5 need to go through early childhood screening one time prior to entering kindergarten. So that's really important that all families get their child registered. We hope to register earlier the better. And so we'd like to screen your child at age 3. And that means one time a month we offer it at Parkside School. So again, they get familiar with the elementary school. And that is usually the first Wednesday of every month in the morning.
Okay.
What that really encompasses is you enter the main doors, and there's a registration table. Families have an appointment for their screening, and so they receive a packet of information in the mail, and they come with that completed, and then the child gets to go through height and weight, And then parents also get to go over the information they filled out on social emotional behavior and development with one of our early childhood teachers, just to see if they have any questions and if we can help them with any resources. And then we have a session called Lift the Lip. So the little one gets to have their lips lifted and we peek at their teeth and gums, making sure that we have healthy teeth. And if they need to be referred on to a dentist, we can help with that as well. And the best part is they get to pick a free toothbrush because everybody loves to get free fun things like that. And then the next part of the screening, the children go into the developmental area and they get to play games. And then we have hearing and vision, where we get to check the eyes and ears. We also check for muscle balance and that the eardrum is working. And then they exit with an interview with a registered nurse. They go over the results of the day, answer any questions that parents have, and then if any referrals need to be made at that time, we give lots of resources, and then I follow up with a phone call.
Okay. Is there a fee for parents to have their child screened?
Not at all.
Okay.
Completely free.
And so it sounds like, and from my understanding of early childhood screening, it's mandated by the state.
Correct.
Which is good for kids and families and school districts. And really the goal is to make sure that we're identifying students who we just need to make sure, like you said, can we help you line up a dentist? Can we help you have a more detailed hearing test? Different things like that, so that when they get to kindergarten, which is typically when they're 5 years old, any extra assistance that they've needed, we've helped them get along the way.
Correct.
Awesome.
I just visited with a mom today that said, I would have had no idea that my child wasn't hearing if it wasn't for screening. And she was so appreciative. And what that really meant for her little one is that we'd done the hearing screening, and we'd actually done it 2 times. Just because if the child isn't cooperative because they are so little, we try again another time. And if that shows that the child either wasn't able to complete the hearing and we weren't able to get the different sounds, we can refer them on to the audiologist here. And again, that's a free screening, so there is no cost for the parents. And then that is more in depth. And through that audiologist visit, then they were able to see that there was a concern. And we're just very thankful, because if it wasn't for screening, it could have gone for the child to be 2 more years older, and that would have been very sad and detrimental.
So really it's almost an insurance blanket or a policy for the families, just to ensure that everything is going well and going the way that it's supposed to with their children. It's something that we'd encourage families to do. The earlier the better, I would think, when they're 3 years old or their child is 3 years old, really encourage them to get them in. Is that offered year-round or just during the school year? Right
now we offer every month during the school year.
Okay.
In September this year, we had 2 screening dates just to make sure we get as many in as possible. Later on at the school board meeting, I'll be sharing those numbers. Last year, we screened 136 kids. By the end of this school year, we're looking at 205.
Awesome. Well, seeing that increase means that we're reaching out to folks and really encouraging them to come in. Again, I'm Superintendent Scott Munson of the Marshall Public Schools, and I'm joined today by our Early Childhood Coordinator, Tiffany Teske. We're talking about a variety of different things related to early childhood. We've kind of gone through some of the definitions, if you will, talked a little bit about early childhood screening and the benefits of doing that, and how we would really like to encourage our families to have their children screened as soon as possible. It's totally free, and really I think just a good way to make sure that we're on track with everything relative to a lot of it is the child's health and some of the things that might be more difficult to see. Tiffany, earlier you talked about Little Cubs Preschool, and that's for any child who's 3 to 5 years old, correct?
Correct.
Registration for next year is going on right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, very exciting. We just opened up our registration for next year. We would love to have as many children as possible register for our preschool programs. And again, we offer half-day and full-day programming. We have more half-day spots, so if you're interested, please sign up.
And how do they do that? How do families do that? Can they go to this document, online, both?
Either one. Marshall Community Services will direct them here to the school district, to the early childhood office. That phone number is 929-2633 or 929-2634. Otherwise, you can check on the website of the Marshall Public School website, and there's links there under the early childhood department.
So tell me a little bit, transitioning maybe just a little bit here, but tell me what Help Me Grow is. What is that?
Okay.
What's that program?
Help Me Grow is a referral system throughout the state of Minnesota that anyone that has a concern about a child's development, may it be social, emotional, developmental, maybe a concern with a delay, hearing, vision, anything, that a parent or any member of the community could make a referral to Help Me Grow. And what that means is that once a referral has been made, and hopefully whoever's referring, it is confidential, has visited with the family. I would recommend that first.
Absolutely.
Then that is geared right towards our early childhood special ed department. And one of our teachers would then contact the family and let them know that a referral had been made and to answer any questions that they have. And if they're interested, they can come in with their child and go through a screener. And then at that time, the early childhood department then can let them know if they feel an evaluation would be needed. And then parents can always choose yes or no. But then we can help them and navigate through that process, because it is difficult for a parent to hear that there could be a concern about their child's development, and we're here to help and support them as much as possible.
And it really is about resources. I think when we talk about early childhood screening and the Help Me Grow program, it's about being a resource for parents and helping them just identify whatever it takes to help their child achieve and grow at the best level possible ultimately. So
Yes.
super. Let's talk a little bit about family literacy and sort of the collaboration that's going on in the community. I know that's a growing area in our community, one that we're pretty excited about. So maybe talk about that a little bit and share what you can.
Yes. Great. Well, our family literacy and ECFE classes started when I started last year. And we started with our Corinne families, and started very small and have grown quite a bit. The numbers are pretty amazing. We're over 50 Corinne members that we have worked with, and it's all ages that we work with. So
Okay.
we're very excited from young parents to grandparents that will come in for classes. In the summertime, we open it up to everybody. So we have E12 plus adults. So, but it's been very fun. They absolutely love education and want to learn more about the community. So we really are trying to cover a huge amount of information, from hunting and fishing regulations to school rules and norms to just different parts in our community, landlord, tenant information. Really, whatever we find from them as concerns, or from the community as concerns, or from the school as concerns, that's how we gear our curriculum to what we're teaching. What's nice is it's free. It's free for families to come and participate, and it's a great way to share that English education.
And that's for the adults, is that correct?
The adults and children.
Children, okay.
So it is like adult basic ed, except for we have the component where we're working with the young children also.
Okay.
So many of the families, the young children are only hearing their home language, which is great and wonderful, but we like to sprinkle a little bit of English to help them be more prepared for when they're entering the school district too.
Absolutely, that makes sense. And who are we partnering with for that? We have the Marshall Public Schools and Marshall Community Services. Who else is a player in this collaborative project?
Yes. Family literacy, which is part of the adult basic ed, is our main partner. So
Okay.
that would be Candace Thomas. She's in charge of that, and she's fabulous, really great to work with. And then she has a Vista volunteer, and his name is John Kinchy. And
Sure.
then Mumu A, who is our minority advocate through the school district here. She also helps us with our Corinne classes. To fund our programs, United Way has given us a grant. And so have to give a shout out to United Way too. This program wouldn't be possible without their help. We just got our Spanish family literacy ECFE classes up and running. So I also have to share, we have Ivani Hart, who is our Spanish translator, and Tina here at the school, our minority advocate, and then Cornerstone Church has given us the facility to hold those classes, and that's a nice location for our families. So if they aren't using, if they have problems with transportation, they can also walk there,
Okay.
or we kind of help navigate through the MAP bus.
Sounds like there's a lot of people pulling in the same direction,
Yes.
which is awesome. What would you say, Tiffany, and I want to, before we're done here, I want to talk just briefly about the proposal from the governor last year to increase early childhood opportunities for families and students in Minnesota. But what would you say are some of the challenges with early childhood programs and offerings in maybe not just Marshall, but statewide or whatever?
Right. Some of the biggest challenges, number one, is lack of space.
Yeah.
You know, I think that our school board is fabulous, our administration is wonderful, we have fabulous teachers, but we can't offer more programming if we don't have space. So that is one of the biggest barriers. Another one is not having transportation can be an issue, because families that are working need help with getting their children to school. And then just funding. You know, we need to have enough funding to provide the programming.
And funding, like you touched on earlier, for early childhood courses is very limited what we receive from the state. It doesn't cover the cost for the facility and staffing and supplies and all of those things, and hence that's often why we have to charge a fee associated with some of those classes. We try to keep that affordable, and we're not in it to make money by any stretch of the imagination. So the Governor Dayton, last year during the legislative session, he kind of wants his legacy to be preschool, early childhood. What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. That's because it's my passion also. And I feel that every child deserves to have a fair education, and I see the validity, I see the return of investment, and I'm really thankful that the state of Minnesota is looking towards that. I think that there's different ways that we can go about it, and I'm anxious to see how the legislation will pan out this year.
It absolutely will be interesting. I know I've seen already some previews of how he's tweaked his proposal and wants to put some resources in there and create some flexibility for school districts through partnerships like what we've been talking about to expand their opportunities for preschool students, especially 4-year-olds, and kind of work our way down. But it will be interesting. How about, and you had talked about earlier, we currently offer early childhood courses at Parkside and at the middle school. We've talked about the benefit of potentially having those in one location, which is incorporated into the building bond referendum. What else could perhaps the building bond referendum, how else could it or might it help early childhood programming?
If that, or when I should say, or hope that the referendum passes, what that would mean for early childhood is that we would have an early childhood family education room that would not be a shared space that it currently is. That could be also shared with family literacy, so that we could have families come to the district and feel welcome and could provide space and materials for them. And then also we would have a classroom for our early childhood special ed teachers to collaborate and be together, which right now when you're in between buildings it's very difficult to have that collaborative feeling.
I suppose, yeah.
And then also just having more programming available to students. To be able to serve more students is, I think, the ultimate goal.
And space creates those opportunities
Right.
to do that, absolutely. Anything else you'd like to share, Tiffany, before we wrap up here relative to early childhood education or the district or anything in general?
Just very thankful for the opportunity to speak today and anytime. So if there's any groups that would like me to come and share my passion, I would love to do that.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.
Again, that's Tiffany Teske, our early childhood coordinator here in the Marshall Public School District. Talked a lot about collaboration and helping parents find resources to really provide a great preschool and early childhood education and preparedness for their children coming into kindergarten. We're glad that she was able to join us today, and she gave a lot of telephone numbers and information, and if anyone has questions, Tiffany has really helped me learn a lot about early childhood in general, and I'm sure she'd be happy to answer your questions. On behalf of everyone in the Marshall Public School District, I I'd like to thank you for your time and encourage you to reach out to any of our buildings and any of our staff with any questions you have, or you can certainly contact the main office as well. That number is 507-537-6924, and have a great day. Thank you.